Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the second of our Lunch and Learn Wellness webinars. I'm pleased to welcome and introduce Heidi Bulman. Heidi is the Community Development Officer at Black Hills Federal Credit Union in Rapid City, South Dakota. She hosts financial literacy training and presentations for kids and adults of all ages. Heidi graduated from National American University in 2011 with a master's in management degree with an emphasis on leadership. She's also a graduate of South Dakota State University, where she earned a Bachelor of Science in Journalism and Marketing. Welcome, Heidi, and thanks so much for helping with this today.
Thank you. Wow, you know more about me than I think I remember. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it, and I'm actually pretty honored. I haven't been back to NAU in a while, so thank you those who are joining. I do like to keep it kind of short, so we're definitely going to talk a little bit today about kind of some things to think about in the future that I think even as adults we forget about. First, just to mention a little bit about my role and a kind of how that in turn works in a financial, because it's not really a common thing for financials to have people as their sole job to teach people about being money savvy. My position at Black Hills Federal Credit Union is to really teach people how to be aware of money, things you can do with money, being fiscally responsible, but just to understand and answer questions. I think kids, adults, anybody forgets that it's okay to come in and ask questions, and sometimes we're a little bit afraid to do that. So that's part of my role here. You know, we are the largest member-owned not-for-profit financial institution in the state of South Dakota. We were chartered in 1941 and served nearly 70,000 members and member owners. So we are avidly getting out there and really promoting financial awareness to people. But today I'm excited to talk to all of you and learn a little bit about what questions you might have of me and provide you just some things maybe you already know but may have forgotten or let slip by the wayside as we do as things get busy. So the first slide really says living for tomorrow, and it's kind of a question or a statement to make you think a little bit. Living for tomorrow in the financial world really means making decisions today that will impact you tomorrow. And I know that can go across the board outside of money and finances. We think about the choices we make to move forward in our career or our personal lives, and hopefully that's how we are kind of gearing things in our own life, is to live for tomorrow. But in the financial world, it's really talking about what can I do now that impacts me later. I often encounter individuals who maybe haven't started saving for their retirement, haven't even thought of it because right now is when they need their money. And so we talk a little bit about retirement, how important it is to save for retirement. And honestly, who wants to work till they're 80 years old? I definitely don't. I want to enjoy some other parts of my life outside of being at work, but thinking about decisions that impact us for the next day. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Let me see if I can get this to go here. Maybe. Oh, I don't. Oh, there it goes. There we go. So it may seem like the most basic thing to discuss with individuals and kind of present to you is understanding needs versus wants. It's really important. It's really the first aspect of understanding and designing a life and understanding what living within your own means is in the sharing, saving, and spending goals, and knowing the difference. I completely am aware that all of our needs and wants are very different. I know that I have very different needs and wants than other people, and it should be that way. I like to bring it up regardless of where we are in our lives, how old we are, how long we've been feeling that we're financially responsible, because I think our need as adults to materialize and maybe be the best or have the latest often overshadow really the actual need we might have as individuals. And I use that example because I very much can put blinders on myself into things that maybe the blinders come on when I'm directed at something I definitely want, but don't often figure it's something I need. So from an early age, we really are taught to understand the differences between needs and wants. However, even we get clouded judgment on what our basic needs and wants are and kind of gear our tunnel vision. I use some of the examples on the screen as coffee. I know that Starbucks coffee specifically is not always a need. It's really never a need. Maybe it's definitely a want, but maybe some of us feel we need coffee. So there's balances there. Obviously, entertainment, school supplies, which is my favorite one because a lot of people think they're wants. School supplies make us successful for our future selves, so we know those are needs. Clothing is really both needs and wants. And then the things that make our homes and our workplaces efficient: gas, oil, water, electric. So definitely understanding. And it could be as simple as making a list of things that maybe impact you in your own life and understanding the balance between needs and wants. So just to really understand the difference between those and realize that they actually play a pretty important role in how we make decisions now for the next time in our life.
Heidi?
Yes.
If I could just, a quick point on that, if you don't mind me interrupting.
No, definitely.
You mentioned how we form our habits early in life regarding even spending, kind of like how we eat and the choices we make
right.
relative to wellness. This is an important role then for parents too. They're modeling certain behavior that our kids are learning.
And you know, that can't be more true. I kind of think about my own childhood, and then I look at my daughter and I think I'm impacting the decisions that she's making, and how do I want that to be? And then I look at some of the decisions that maybe I make now and relate that to, well, how did I grow up? How are things different? Maybe they were complete opposite and I've chosen to go a different way in my life. So understanding these basic things as a child, even reformatting our decisions as an adult, I think it's very important to remember that you're impacting people even if you don't know it. All right. Oops, I'm going the wrong direction here. Okay, so really there's three parts that are the three most basic ideas when it comes to money. These are things that I share with kindergartners all the way up to adults, obviously on different levels, but just understanding the basic things about a budget and about how you make decisions on your money. Saving, spending, and sharing are the three simplest ways to learning about how to build a budget, how to understand where your avenues need to play a part in your life to be financially responsible. So saving, we all know that saving's not easy. I think we can all admit that saving money is one of the hardest things that people do. The first statement on here is always pay yourself first. And it's kind of a question that I ask people, what do you think that means? Some people will say, well, it's my paycheck comes to me, so then I get paid first. It will be things like, well, I should do the things I want first and then do the things I need. And really, this is the whole idea, is to understand and pay your future self first. So to invest in yourself or the future of your family, the best I can really sum it up and recommend is, you know, all of us, maybe not all, but majority of employers now have auto deduction for when it comes to your income. One of the easiest things you can do is have money auto deducted from your paycheck the time you know you're getting paid, and have it go straight into a savings account. That way you don't see the money, you aren't tempted to spend it, and it's there. You're starting to save, you pay yourself first, and that's your future first. I think also it's the same point as if you do retirement or are electing to look at retirement, it's to have it also auto deducted, because then it's money that you don't see, but you know it's going towards something else for you in the future. The pay yourself first is a hard method for people, not so much when it comes to retirement planning or putting money into their savings account, but maybe they haven't started any of those items and they want to. By nature, we know that paying for the things we're responsible for first is really what we should be doing, paying for our house payment, our car payment, groceries. But that's really not the best way to think about how to take care of yourself down the road. So even if it's something as small as $1 that you pay yourself first with, you put into your savings account, and then you start taking care of the things that need taken care of, that's a good way to start. I know it's definitely backwards from what I remember learning is, well, if I have money left over, I'll go ahead and push it into my savings account. Yeah. And it's definitely a different mindset and a thinking to kind of turn that around. Definitely worth it. The average amount that really is recommended that people save per pay period is 10% of their income, fully knowing that that's not always feasible. So like we teach kids, if you can put $1 away and save it, great. Adults the same way. Save as much as you can because you never know when you're going to need the money. And then we talk about it adding up into larger amounts over small amounts, because if you are unfamiliar, in your savings accounts, if you've got money in there, you do earn dividends every month. It's a very small amount, but it adds up over time because really your financial is paying you to keep your money there. And then really just never not save. I probably stress about this more than my husband appreciates, but I like to save constantly, and he wants me to have a little bit more fun with the money, but I always think that, well, what if this happened, or what if this came up? So I'm learning to let go a little bit, but always saving is a good thing to keep in mind. And then really once you start saving, money and finances are hard things for a majority of people to discuss. I know even as an individual, looking at your financials and looking at your bank account or where your money goes, it's a really hard reality for people to kind of sit down and grasp. You just have to learn to be comfortable understanding your money and the tools that can help you to be successful. If you can or want to, we recommend using a financial planner, somebody who is an expert in money and helping you balance those things. There's online budgeting tools. There's one, Every Dollar from Dave Ramsey or Mint. I know the credit union here has got one coming very soon that will be within online banking, so that's a pretty cool aspect. Or it could be something as simple as a notebook and paper, and that's all that's designated to, or a spreadsheet on your computer. But understanding how you save your money and really how fruitful it is for you in the future definitely helps you to move forward with your future self. All right. So this emergency fund for me for a long time was kind of a when I get around to it, or when I'm done paying for student loans, or when I'm done with this, I'll start building an emergency fund. And I think what happens is we realize we need an emergency fund when an emergency happens and we don't have the cash. So as kids, we're taught to save for things we want. Maybe it's a bicycle or video games. As adults, we probably save for similar things with a bigger price tag, like a car, or maybe we're saving for a down payment on a home. As adults, we also need to really consider our rainy day fund. Rainy day fund is really associated with our emergency funds, and they need to be equally as important, if not more important, than our wants fund. If you have that opportunity at your financial to set up multiple accounts within, like I can use for an example here, you can set up within your membership multiple savings accounts that reflect what it's saving for. So maybe you have a generalized savings account, and then you have a vacation account, and then you have your emergency fund account. And you can have money dispersed to all of them, some of them, part of them, but it's not a bad idea to know, where your emergency funds come from and having some cash on hand, because you never know really, if you have children, if somebody's gonna fall and break an arm, or maybe you got an fender bender and you need to repair your car. Just never a bad idea to start saving for an emergency fund. I can tell you, most financial experts are going to recommend, excuse me, you have enough cash reserve to cover 3 to 6 months worth of household expenses. When we sit down and you look at your household expenses and what you pay for your home and your heat and your water and your groceries, sometimes that's not realistic for you, depending on where you are in your life. if I could save 6 months worth in an emergency fund, it would be amazing, and I would be super excited. But we know majority of us don't do this, and we don't often have an unending amount of income that we've invested in our future selves. So having 1 to 2 months of cash reserve is probably more practical for more people, and always a good idea to start putting some of that money away for the rainy day fund. We really live in uncertain times in the economy. You never know how things are going to go. Often corporate loyalty is a thing of the past. In some organizations, an unexpected employment happens, and it's our job to really be prepared for those things. I just put on here, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think that's key is understanding and realizing your revenue flow could change on a dime, but also being in touch with what your insurance covers and doesn't cover, because there's, at least in my mind, this sort of sense of, oh, I have insurance, so if the roof gets hailed on or the basement floods or something, it will be covered, and we may be, but you also may not have everything covered. So
right. It's important to remember that even though we may have insurance, whether it's medical, it's for our home, for our cars, whatever your insurance is for, it covers to a certain amount, but they expect some money in return as part of your deductible. And I think sometimes we forget that.
Right.
We forget that, yes, maybe my car has severe hail damage and I'm planning to get it repaired, but I also have to pay a portion of that because that's my contribution for my insurance. I like to kind of point out that the average household spends nearly 60% of their income on housing, transportation, and food. I think it's important to know where your money goes and how it's being spent. It's kind of not surprising that that's where 60% of people's income goes to, because you have a roof over your head, you're paying to get to and from school or work, and you have to put food on your table, whether it's for yourself or your family. Not unusual that majority of your income goes there, but try and make some good decisions about how it's being dispersed. It just depends on, obviously, your lifestyle too. Some of that is based on where you elect to live versus where might be more feasible. All right. So the second aspect of the pie chart really is to share. And I know that people cringe at this. I did initially. Sharing your money is a really valuable part of understanding your budget. And sharing money can mean sharing with other people. Maybe it's lending to a relative or a friend. It can be as simple as donating time to a local charity, because we know as adults, your time is valuable, and that ultimately results in money. So sharing your time, because we know the working world, time is money. It's not bad to share. And we talk, at least I talk to kids about the most basic thing about sharing money is maybe my sister wants to borrow $1 and that's fine, and I anticipate her to return the favor, but maybe it's we go and walk dogs at the Humane Society. So understanding the basic need of sharing money could be simple things like giving your time. Maybe you coach a softball team and that's giving your time. It's a big part of what really makes your budget what it is. Or maybe you choose to give the money, and that's okay too. So sharing is really a big part of the pie for us. Learning the art of thrift. I think this is more difficult for people unless they've really mastered it. Maybe you don't need some winter coats that you've had for a long time and you donate them to a local shelter or secondhand store. That's one way of the art of thrifting. The other might be maybe you do shop the thrift stores, and that's great, and find some good deals on some things, because we know that brand new doesn't have to be brand new. It can be new to you, and that's okay, especially if you're trying to save money and move forward there. I personally have made it a goal to try and do this more often. The art of thrift is not easily come by when it's not something you're ingrained with early. So I do, and I think as adults we do this anyway. We do what's convenient, we do what's easy. It might not impact my overall budget or my overall goal in saving the best way, but we understand that we need to be better about it. And then just be cautious how you share. I think we get overly helpful in some cases where we want to help people out and we genuinely want people to do good things and be able to move forward in their life, but think about how it's impacting yours. I may want to loan a certain amount of money to a sibling or a relative, but I need to understand how they handle their money and if they're going to do the same with my own. So just be cautious of how you share. Too often we hear about how people didn't really share their money so correctly and it really hurt them in the long run. All right. Spend. So I think spending is probably the easiest part for most people. Spending really creates income for others, so it is good. It is okay to spend money. However, not all of us are born spenders. I am one of those. I am a saver. I want to save everything because I'm planning for the future, and I never know what's going to happen. However, some people just love to spend, and that's okay as long as you know how to balance it. Finding the middle ground is really the hardest part. When it comes to spending money, most often our blinders go on and we just buy. I think that depends on who we are and how we've decided to make our own decisions. I can tell you when it comes to big purchases, I will wait years before I make the purchase until it's absolutely necessary. When it comes to smaller things that aren't such a big impact to my budget and my goals, I might spend without thinking. So it could be the same, it could be opposite, everybody's different. Spend wisely is really an understatement. Too often here at the credit union, we witness people spending recklessly. It's not unusual. I know people have maybe not been taught how to spend money and how to save money and how to balance a checkbook. If we weren't taught or given those tools to manage our money as you grow up, you will indefinitely spend your money because it's exciting. You have money, you're working, you're earning it, and you're wanting to get things maybe that you didn't think you could have, because it is exciting to see that paycheck go into your account. But it's also exciting to see that your savings account can grow too. So just be cautious. I know some such spending that we really advise to spend wisely on is credit cards. Be cautious. I know as a society, we're often told that credit cards are bad. However, they can be amazing benefits to people, and they really do serve a purpose and a place. So if you aren't sure how to manage them, just stick to dealing with cash. Make good choices. This one, we've probably heard our whole life. I know I probably have. I'm sure if you have children, you relay some sort of message this direction to them. I think it's something to keep in mind and remember. Making good choices really impacts you in different situations. It might not today, but maybe in the future. And that's financially as well as other avenues of your life. And then the comparative shopping, you know, spend on what you need first and then what you want. Sometimes we're overshadowed and don't understand our wants and needs. So it's important to break that down. I know a new car or vacation in the winter sounds super nice, but is it really feasible? Are you putting money on a credit card and you can't afford it? Be aware of the habits that you're making and really the examples that you're setting. Let's see here. This is probably one of my favorite things that I learned in the financial world is the Latte Factor, because I do love coffee, not necessarily Starbucks, but I think, you know, the basic idea is that lattes from Starbucks are what get us in trouble. When it comes to spending, this is where you evaluate your need versus want and look at the value. I realize that maybe I or other people drink coffee daily. I don't drink it from Starbucks daily. Maybe for you it is going to McDonald's or whatever your treat is. Pay attention to how often you're doing it. And I break this down because this is, I think, important to understand where our money goes. So 2 grande lattes at Starbucks plus tax per week is $7.63. For the month, it's around $30, and then a total year is almost $400 in coffee. I don't know about anybody else, but that's a lot of coffee I could buy at home. Not saying that you shouldn't do these things, that's your choice, but understand how you're spending your money. One of the ones I think that really escapes us is at the end of the day when you're tired and maybe your kids have baseball practice and you're got to run here and there, and it just seems easier to pull through McDonald's and grab a sandwich. But is it really easier? I advise you to plan ahead, plan out your week. If you know you're going to be busy, make plans to work around that, because honestly, it takes about 10 minutes to make a sandwich at home at most. So if it's part of your budget and something you want to save towards, look at these small purchases, consider the Latte Factor in how you spend your money. We definitely want you to have fun. It's something that you should really kind of want to watch things grow. It's exciting to see things change and to make those changes in your life and watch your accounts grow. You're sharing, you're spending, you're saving. There's two different pictures on this screen that show jars. And I bring this up because we start here at the credit union with our young savers and our young members with the jars on the far right. There are save, spend, and share jars. And when they open an account, we teach them about what those are for and how they use them. And then they can take them home. And the hope is that they do that and they start putting money away in those banks. But really to give the general and the visual that you need to start saving money. This is how you can share it. This is how you can spend it. And then we know that obviously if you see lots of money in those jars, it's a lot easier to make that connection. Mm-hmm. And then keep it simple. Building your budget and understanding how to save money shouldn't be hard. It can be as basic as starting with the 3 jars. It can be as complex as investing in someone helping you to do these things. Make it a family affair. Maybe you have a family goal to go on a really nice vacation. So maybe you enlist the 52-week money challenge, which my family did last year. And it got harder at the end of the year. But everybody was involved. It was a little bit competitive, but it was fun and it was different and it went towards a good thing. And I would say the hardest one for most people is plan budget meetings. Look at your accounts. Look where you're spending your money and how it's going, where your savings is ending up. And if you need to make changes, do it. I know it's hard to make 30 minutes to an hour set aside just to go over something that's a little uneasy and a little uncomfortable for people. But in the long run, I think it's really worth it. And you understand more about how your money is being spent. It also helps you to understand maybe you thought you were only going to McDonald's twice a week, and maybe you're really going there 3 or 4 times a week. So it's to understand your budget a little bit and be more cognizant. But don't stress. There's lots of people out there to help answer questions. You can go into usually any financial institution and get help understanding things about your accounts. You can call. So definitely look out there at how you want to spend, save, and share, and really balance that budget for your future self. I think that is all.
Thanks, Heidi. The 52-week challenge is intriguing to me. That's really about not just sacrificing, especially at the end, $52, but to change habits, spending habits, right? Right. Yeah.
Yep. It's really to encourage you to set reminders. I know last year my husband and I started it, and I am really competitive, so I decided to double the amount every week that was being asked in the 52-week money challenge. And it got harder at the certain times of our lives, right? So we travel in the summertime because my daughter plays softball, so that's where money is mostly going. So it was a little bit harder, but to have that constant reminder to build that, you've built that challenge in for a long-term result. It's fun and it's interesting and it's different.
Yeah, no, I like that very much, because it's about changing habits, which then will carry forward into the future, and it's very tangible. You can see exactly.
It is, definitely.
Cumulatively, so that's cool.
Definitely.
So we had a couple more people join us. Either you can type a question in the chat, or I think all the microphones are open if anybody has a question. I don't think you're going to get any questions, Heidi. You were.
That's okay.
Yeah, you were really thorough, so that's a good thing. I love the focus that you had throughout the presentation on really involving the whole family, especially kids. I may even take that, you talked about going home for a sandwich versus stopping at a fast food or stopping at a restaurant. I may clip that and play it for my children, because I think I say that every single weekend when we're out and about running errands.
Right.
And it drives them
Well,
crazy.
it gets harder as they start driving and maybe they have a debit card or their own money.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, you are literally stopping 3 minutes from home at McDonald's. Just come home.
Yes. Yes.
And not that you care. Yeah, and it's not that you care on a normal basis, but when you see how the spending is taking place, you really get an awareness of how your money is being spent.
Exactly. I think there is. It's really easy to overlook $5 here, $5 there, but that latte factor, as you said, it adds up so quickly. So if you're plugged into that, it makes sense to drive that 3 miles home just to make yourself a sandwich. But it's a hard concept for especially a teenager to get their brain around.
It is, and even as adults, we do things out of convenience, and that's fine. Just try and understand where your money is going at that convenience if you're wondering why your savings isn't adding up or some other things came in.
Right. It looks like we may have a question. This comes from A. Lucas. It reads, I came at the end, but I think the family budget challenge is a great idea to help not only yourself, but your family as well. And it sounds a bit of fun. I'm going to try it. So.
Oh, well, good for you. And you can find that 52-week money challenge if you just search for it online. It's not something new. It's not a new concept, but it is out there and the sheets are available. Some of the locations, some different organizations provide you kind of some tactful steps on how to do it. And every family is different. For us, I gave constant reminders and posted them at certain places around my house as a reminder, like, I know you want to do this, but keep in mind what we decided as a family. So good for you. I hope it works out.
Yep. And to those who did join late, just a reminder, I am recording this, and within the next couple days, I'll be putting out the recording to all of our employees. So you'll get to catch the part you missed. Okay, any final questions? All right, Heidi, I think that wraps us up. I really appreciate it.
Well, yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You bet. I'm going to stop the recording now and wish everyone a good day. Thanks again.